This week on Waifus Weekly, we have hybrids. Hybrids are defined as an offspring resulting from combining the qualities of two organisms of different breeds, varieties, species, or genera through sexual reproduction. This is done as a way to get better traits from these animals, with the prime example being a mule, which is an animal with a donkey as a father and a mother horse. This results to an animal being stronger, as in carrying weights, while also being smaller. As for the term crossbreed, on the other hand, this is defined as parents of two different breeds, varieties, or populations. Like someone who has the same qualities of two of the same species, like let's say maybe an air and a fire dragon perhaps? But regardless, I believe the same can be done with a crossbreed or hybrid waifu. Getting a hybrid species with some desirable traits of two separate animals or waifu types, of course, races. Honestly, this topic isn't my particular forte. I am not knowledgeable on this. But the best way to learn about hybrids is, of course, to ask one ourselves. So today, to help discuss hybrids, crossbreeds, and everything in between, we brought our very own dragon-wolf hybrid god, Zeno.
Hello! It's lovely to see everybody again. My name is Zeno, and I'm your local dragon wolf deity from another world. It's lovely to see you all. So, we're talking more about people like myself today, are we crazy?
Yeah, basically. We're gonna talk about more hybrids and the pros and cons to why you'd want to date one. So
aside from the obvious divine one.
Yeah, the obvious divine hybrids. We have, of course, all kinds of hybrids from, well, the obvious ones from mythology, like the Chimeras, the very, very good example for this. Also,
Chimeras are fun.
Would you count like a platypus waifu as a hybrid? Because technically they are kinda.
I think they do. I think they count. Like anything, but the whole point of a hybrid is specifically two or more things fused together. So I don't see why they wouldn't count technically.
Just mix together what, a beaver and a duck, and we just call that a hybrid waifu. Actually,
I mean, a platypus itself is a creature that is supposed to look like that. So I mean,
yeah.
As weird as it is, a platypus is regular animal. So by technical standards, unless the VTuber themselves specify that it's a lore reason, then I wouldn't necessarily count them as a waifu. It's a hybrid, but definitely still a waifu.
Yeah.
Absolutely still waifu material though. The waifu criteria is very forgiving, but the hybrid one is very specific. It doesn't necessarily matter exactly how the two or more separate entities are fused, as long as it is definitely two or more. Emphasis on the number two creatures being required. Two or more is the bare minimum.
Okay, yeah, I think that makes the most sense because we have. Well, okay, let's try to give a let's try to give a different example. What is the most common hybrid that you think you've seen? And we're not talking about like human and then an animal because that's a bit too obvious. That's just regular kimono.
Yeah,
Kimomo?
that's a kimono.
Kimomo,
which would be essentially or kimimi. Kemonini. That word is a lot more difficult than it would have you to believe. Kemono mimi is for basically animal-eared individual. Kemono itself, not to be confused with kimono, which is the clothing. Kemono is essentially, yes, it's a animal-human hybrid character. Usually more human than animal, but having animal features such as ears, tails, and maybe the occasional body markings. Whereas I think in terms of the most common hybrid I've seen is interesting to note, there's not really a large presence of them in anime media, but they're really, it is something I've noticed. Like, if you remember back when we were discussing how we were talking about the lack of monster guys in media in terms of anime, we also, in terms of just straight up pure hybrid characters that are monster equivalent or anything like that, if you've really paid attention in terms of it, there really is a severe lack of it, because most of them, if they do exist, fall under the kimono archetype of character design, and
just cat ears, basically.
Yeah, basically. Which, I mean, let me think. If in terms of like the most common hybrid in anime, if we're discussing purely anime, I'm not sure if we can really technically count it as a hybrid, because it's a demon and human, which, you know, we've got your half demon characters.
I think that counts as I think that counts, but not quite as a hybrid in the traditional sense, basically.
Yeah. You're more likely to find hybrids of characters in real-life mythology outside of, you know, works of media. If you're going to talk about hybrids, the most popular one would have to be, by far, the Chimera, which also kind of, that is the most popular and diverse one that I could ever see, which, I mean, you've got the traditional Greek Chimera, which is supposed to be interpreted with the head of a goat, a lion, and sometimes a dragon's head, sometimes not, and the tail is a snake. Yeah, and the body itself seems to be an amalgamation of these creatures that have been combined. In D&D, there is a kind of like a section of interesting hybrid creatures that have been brought to life. You've got the owl bear, which is a really big, powerful monster. Which
from what mythology is that from?
Yeah, I think
I have seen that though.
I don't know, but if I had to wager a guess, it's based off of the Strix, which is in its own right, because Strix and Shrikes as creatures actually don't exist like we think they are, but they are a creature that was made purely in pop culture. There isn't really, as far as it's interesting. It's a very interesting topic. But in terms of hybrid characters, and specifically where it's just two or more characters fused into a singular design that isn't a kamimi. Kemono.
Kemono. There's some tongue twisters.
They really are. But kimono character types for hybrids seems to be the most common. I mean, heck, look at my model design. It works because it's a thing that it's just so common. Like, but even for someone like myself, if you look into the VTubing community, there's actually not that many hybrids as well in terms of half and half. And I'm not specifically referring to me being just a dragon wolf hybrid. I mean, I would love to see more hybrid characters. I've seen a dragon fox after a very long time. I saw one other dragon wolf VTuber, and I've seen like demon cow VTubers, which is fun.
I think I've seen her. I think I've seen that one.
And like, there's not, but in reality, there just really is not a lot of people who do just the hybridization of two character animal types of. So you've got like, I would love to see, for example, like a bird and like an owl cat. Have you ever seen like those memes where you've got like the cats are just owls, or like vice versa, and you've got like
I saw that.
An owl creature with like a cat head, or like a cat with an body and whatnot, and like it's cute. Like, I would love to see that as a VTuber. I would love to see more cryptid VTubers as well, honestly, because like
actually now that you mention it, there's actually someone I know named Starlight, wherein her model is a celestial fox girl, but she also has wings. So I think that kind of counts as a hybrid if we know where those wings are from, though. If it's a more eagle wing, if it's a more owl wings, once we know that they do have different wings, but from what I see, she's going for the more angelic look, so you can just say that's a like default bird, a default bird look.
Basically, like a basic feathered design, which I mean, it's not a bad thing.
It's fine.
it's like they got the old pop culture interpretation of the seraphim wing.
Yes,
and,
not
cherub
the
imagery.
biblically accurate ones, because those are terrifying.
Can you imagine a biblically accurate VTuber?
I want to see that. I want to see that now. Someone do that, please.
Somebody beg, but be simple for the biblically accurate, the Bible accurate angel, please. Send me wheel pics. Be not afraid. I am not afraid. Be not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm turned on. But yeah, in regards to hybrid creature designs, you really do have to look, and I think that's what helps me, for example, kind of stand out in the crowd. There isn't really a lot, of just, I am a dragon and a wolf hybrid. I am both and I am neither. I am me. I exist. But in terms of character design, there really is not that many fusions. In terms, I mean, there are some. They do exist, but they're really very few and far between.
Well, it's because, if you know what Jasper said, fusion is just a cheap tactic to make weak gems stronger. That's a Steven Universe reference for some of y'all over there who knows what I'm talking about.
Oh man, I haven't watched Steven Universe in years. Oh.
Same. I just kept remembering that one line while I was writing the script.
Interesting to note, since I've been a fusion VTuber as myself, for example, as a hybrid VTuber, I've recently, in my chat a few months ago, I ended up getting a series of questions of people who learned, oh wait, you are both? So what did your parents look like? How did that work?
That was Jasper's question. When we met, that was Jasper's question.
Yes. Yes, indeed it was. It was there. It was Jasper. And this is where it comes into the interesting part about me being a god, because I'm an orphan.
You just exist.
I just exist.
I'm just here.
I'm sorry that it might not be too particularly interesting, but like, my creation in terms of lore is divine side of, I just poofed into existence one day because existence told me to.
I'm just here to deal with it.
Basically, I'm sorry, but like, if that's your problem, then you're gonna have to deal with it.
That's their thing.
Like, it's just like, you can't accept that. Anyways, it is what it is.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what they had. They just have to deal with it. They have, yeah, basically.
You can't explain divine perfection. I'm kidding. I'm not that narcissistic, but like,
that should be a shirt. You should get a shirt of that. You can't explain divine perfection.
You just see my fucking T-pose, like, literal model, just have my face. It's like that. You see this fucking face with the smuggest of expressions. You can't explain divine perfection, and it's just me smiling.
Oh, that's glorious. That's just absolutely glorious.
But yes, and that is a good thing in regards to questions about hybrids in general when it comes to characters and or waifus who are hybrids. Like, we have some examples, but there are very few and far between of like, what was the origin as to what caused your hybridization? Were you born that way? If so, were your parents responsible in response to you being born? Were you created in a lab like Edward? I'm gonna immediately make people sad now with that one, but
okay, I think I know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
Metal Alchemy. Were you Shao Tuckered into existence? Mm-hmm.
Just makes everyone sad. But
can you imagine
there are a lot of people who are like, I actually enjoy. This is one VTuber who I like watching a lot, whose name is VTuber Senpai. They're basically the one I told you about who teaches people how to be VTubers. He slowly grew, but he told early on when I started watching him, he actually told how he had a lore criticism. He had this lore video thing wherein he criticized people's lores, and there's actually a very large, surprisingly, a large amount of people who sent him the failed experiment thing.
No, no.
Yeah, I was actually surprised when I heard that because one, I actually didn't know anyone at the time who was a failed experiment. But then when he like explained it, he actually he like said about like 5 people who sent the lores to him, who were in chat at that exact moment.
Oh my god.
Okay, you guys in chat, yeah. There were just some people in chat who had that lore of being a failed experiment or a something went wrong in a laboratory type of person. And well, there's nothing wrong with trying to be like using a standard lore, but come on.
I mean, tropes work. That's why they exist. But if they're overdone, or if they're used as a cop-out for storytelling, it doesn't work anymore, does it? So, well, let me put it this way. Coming from somebody who's a writer and understands tropes to a very fine point, and how to use them, using tropes correctly is important. The tropes are never bad. But what makes tropes bad in storytelling is execution. Poor execution of a trope causes the trope to be bad in that medium. So, if all 5 of them are, for example, if these 5 individuals are all failed experiments, okay, why? What experiments were you failures of? What was the story behind the experiment that led to your creation? What were the people who were experimenting in the first place trying to achieve? You can absolutely still be a vague failed experiment and not have your character be aware as to why. All you know is that they are a failed experiment. But this is also just to add on a little bit in regard to VTuber lore storytelling, how to make more out of less. In regards to that is, have some design cues upon your character to indicate perhaps what exactly these people were trying to achieve. Have some, have a lore video, or heck, even just make like a really, really quick Google Doc explaining like some lore files, and like make them in the style of like documentary or research notes from the people who are creating you.
Yes, and exactly. Yeah.
It's not that hard, people.
Yes, you have all sorts of methods. For example, my latest show, which is gonna show up really soon, all about lore, where you can come to my talk show and we'll discuss your lore in the best ways possible, with hundreds of questions. Just kidding, just a couple questions that we'll expand upon. But yes, it's also like how you use. Too. Definitely, you're gonna be one of the first guests. So, going back to the hybrids, what are like some things that people don't consider when we're talking about hybrids? Like the pros and cons of being in a certain hybrid. Well, normally because you're both a wolf and a dragon, I don't think there's that many cons because you are also a goddess, which kind of offsets the negatives of being, well, either of those.
Well, I do have a slight confession in regards to there is one con.
Yeah?
My tail gets everywhere. It's a lot bigger than in person. It's embarrassing. Sometimes I accidentally get it caught in like a door. And my horns actually. My horns are like normal doors hard to go through. I have to slightly tilt my head to the side when I enter a room with a normal huge door because, they wide.
Yeah, that's fair. Just going sideways.
Basically, it can be a bit of a challenge. There is some challenges that even my divine estate can't actually fix.
Okay, so I'm assuming that when a place has a Noren, you just have like a bad time. Just your horns become the curtain thing.
It really is a problem.
Well, that's just parts of biology we're in. Of course, people have to consider when they're deciding on a hybrid waifu. And what kind of hybrid we're talking about here, of course.
My ears, behind my ears, are really sensitive, so if people touch them, it makes me freak out. Pet pat, you have to be very careful in giving me pet pats. And lots of times, people do it on purpose. I know who you are, and you do too.
Yes, definitely. The viewers definitely know who we're talking about. Or the types of people we're talking about here.
I see you, fellow degens.
True degenerates.
Absolutely, true degenerates understand. But, yes, in regards to what type of hybrid you're dealing with, you've got to consider in regards to pros and cons. For example, aggressive levels or affection levels or the potential possessiveness. There's a difference between being clingy and being possessive and territorial, you know. For example, if you've got, like, for example, a wolf and a hyena hybrid, for example, you gotta you have a best friend for life because both of them are insanely loyal creatures, but secondly, they're both exceptionally territorial. So, and if you're not
Clingy
a part
as
of their
fuck,
friend group,
basically.
essentially, yes.
You just multiply that. Yeah.
Especially, and also because hyenas themselves are to be particularly dominant entities in their own right. They're a not a patriarchy, they're a matriarchy in how their society. Yes, so you're definitely gonna get a dommy mommy, but it's not like instead of them being just dommy mommy, they're gonna dominate you into submission. It's the same thing with wolf culture, actually, too.
I think we don't have to explain, like, the biology of a female hyena, right? We don't have to explain that. Surely people watching this video already know what we're talking about.
If you don't, Google it, and you'll thank me for the fan fiction later.
Or just watch Interspace Reviewers, because they have an episode about that. Two episodes,
Or,
actually.
Or just look at the furry community. As a furry, you'll never be the same.
Oh, that's true. That's very, very, very true. Oh, Lord.
Very, very, very ominous, but it's also very true.
Well, on the bright side, a lot of viewers who are furries would thank us. Those who are not would probably
want some eye bleach, which can be provided to you at the end of the episode.
True, very true. So, we also have to include dietary requirements, of course, right? So when we have, let's say that let's say that your waifu is a hybrid of let's say a small type of bird, for example, a sparrow. Sparrows usually eat like small fruit, small nuts, and small insects, of course. And you have to provide for that. But they can also be a hybrid of, let's say, what do you reckon? What do you reckon would be cool with a small bird?
Let me think for a minute. I don't know. My dumbass just chose frog.
So a bird frog, that works, I suppose.
Even think about it. You got a frog who also eats insects. What really got me was the insect thing.
Yeah. So just imagine a flying frog with wings.
Actually, I could design that. Hold on, artist brain gears are turning.
We're gonna have to like put it somewhere. Put it up somewhere.
I'm gonna post it on Twitter. You can just put it in the description. I'll make a Twitter thread for it.
I'll put a description. I'll put it up here in case that you post it. In case you post it like before I post this video. But we'll see. We'll see. We'll fix it in post.
I can do it. We'll fix it in post. Yes, the mantra of all editors.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah, fix it in post. Me just casually me flying off the screen. Oh, it's fine. We'll fix me in post. But yes, another interesting hybrid in regards to that, if you want to talk about dietary requirements, is let's try, for example, an owl bunny. And there's a reason why I chose owl bunny, because owls are notoriously carnivorous.
Yeah.
They are hunters. And then you've got a rabbit, which you would assume, for the majority of it, is actually an herbivore. And by technical, yes, they are. But did you also know? Rabbits also are capable of eating and consuming meat.
Yeah.
It's a very disturbing fact, actually. But yes, they are capable of doing it.
We've all seen Monty Python.
Have we now? Just Google rabbits at the chat. But basically, what I mean to say is that actually is a hybrid that could work because of that. The same thing, in fact, in the furry community, there is actually a big hybrid known as the cabbit in regards to what type of creature it is, which is literally a cat and a rabbit.
I'm gonna put a photo because I have no idea what this is. I will put a photo somewhere
I'll send
here.
It to you. I'll send you what it is. But basically, it is exactly what it sounds like. It's a rabbit mixed with a cat in how it acts and how it is and everything else. It is genuine creature, which is really really cool. But yeah, so we've got that, and so in terms of dietary requirements, it would actually be very easy to maintain and keep a waifu of such species variety, because their dietary requirements is actually fairly easy to upkeep, because it's basically if you give them a healthy mixed diet, like most humans should be eating, you're actually okay. That doesn't mean that they are. I mean, I had 2 Hot Pockets this morning. I really can't talk shit.
That's fair. I just had the pizza and fries just now, so.
It's fine.
It's fine. That's just food. Okay, so we're gonna talk. We're gonna go to the.
A lot of people judging us.
Yeah, that's a lot of people probably judging us. So we're gonna get into the meat and bones of discussion, reproduction, because that's the one thing a lot of people probably come here for. How would reproduction go when it comes to something like a bird? Let's go by logic of how. Let's, for example, Monster Musume. In Monster Musume, we have an idea that the way that some hybrids can
Monster
occur.
Girls.
Yes, is when a how should I say this in a way that doesn't get me banned off YouTube? When a human has intercourse with a bird person while they
when a human has a bird bath with a harpy.
Yes, essentially yes. The egg doesn't actually it's definitely not a live bird, because these people are still these harpies are still birds, so the egg gets fertilized, but then they lay the egg and the egg just starts to
it makes, in terms of, that's not just reproduction, that's also just it's gestation.
That's a term. There it is. Yeah.
And then in regards to also in terms of childbirth itself varies from race to race and species to species and hybrid to hybrid. So for example, I myself might not function this way, but I do have a character that is also a dragon wolf I've described in regards to, in terms of reproduction, she also lays a clutch of eggs, which over time will grow and develop into smaller versions of her, regardless of the parent, who is the father, because of genetic weirdness. That's also a thing you need to consider, because depending on the hybrid you're working with and what other extra traits they might have, you might actually not have a hybridization of the hybrid parent and the father. There might not be a diluting of any genetic material for the child in regards to that, which is an interesting topic that can go a bit too big brain, but basically the summarization of it is, not to go in too much in the lean more towards storytelling, I would recommend, in regards to this, versus the actual ramifications of the genetic side of things. Because remember, kids, there really are real life hybrids. Remember, there are goats that produce spider silk because they're half spider. Not half, but they're genetically modified. like, there are real hybrids, and we're just slowly but surely starting to make them. And in regards to that, the study of genetics is long, complicated, and definitely not for this video. So
It's
I would
definitely for
recommend
somebody with
leading-
more scientific experience.
Yes. So what I would suggest is, if you're going to talk about reproduction in hybrid characters, make an idea and then stick with it effectively. So for example, if your character is hybridized with a egg-laying race but is also half mammalian, think about it this way. Make him pick one or the other. Where will they lay eggs, or will they give birth to live young? If they lay eggs, how many eggs do they lay? Do they only lay 1 or 2? Or do they have an entire clutch of like 10 or more? These are things to consider in regards to how the genetic reproduction side of things in regards to hybrid. Not necessarily just including the deed of conception.
The lewds, yeah.
The lewds, yes. The conception itself is for your fan fiction.
For the fan fiction, for hentai. Speaking of which, I actually did remember seeing one where somebody tried banging a clam because there's a girl clam. It was weird, it was disturbing, but also very interesting, like how it worked. But that's just something for the author to decide, like how it works.
I'm just reminded of Cloyster from Pokemon.
that's essentially what the girl looked like, but she was like coming out of the shell. It was weird. I don't want to describe it any further. You know, those degenerates of you know that hentai. Yeah, I'll just say it. You degenerates know this hentai. If you know it, you'll probably find it on those special websites online. Anyway,
we're not sponsored by hentai.net.
yeah, basically. Okay, anything else you want to add before we end this? Anything else you wanna add before we end this? Because any final thoughts, basically?
No thoughts, head empty. But yeah, no joke. When it comes to creating a hybrid character, remember, the only limitation in regards to creating a hybrid character or being a hybrid at all is right up here in your noggin. It's limited only to your imagination. In regards to that, have fun exploring both sides of the creatures that you're hoping to hybridize. They're not limited to just animals, you know. Think about, for example, monster characters that you can transform and hybridize. Have fun with your design and building the lore of your hybrid. And remember, stay creative.
Okay, I think that was some good final thoughts. We'll get on with the video. As you can see, hybrid waifus are awesome. Just remember that when you get the traits both good and bad from both species. So try not to mix too many species, alright?